engineer of the greatest Stanley Cup party that we've ever seen and presentation, Reno Cerbone, owner and chef at Heritage Restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, where this was great. I'll let you tell the story.
So first off, good morning, you two fucking knuckleheads. Good morning, both of you. It's actually funny. He calls me up in the morning. He goes, "Hey, we're gonna be in Fort Lauderdale today." He's like, "Would it be a chance that we could get to Heritage?" Now listen to this. I actually told my brother, I'm like, fully booked tonight, guys. I'm like, I'm fully booked tonight.
He said I'm fully booked.
I'm kind of full. Keep
I'm
it
like,
up.
and he goes, "Oh man," he's like, "All right, whatever." He's like, "Let me call you back." So Bill Zito's good friends with, there's another restaurant around town called Livia. They have a nice big outdoor space. I'll tell you what, go over there and I'll just stop by. I just want to see you and the family. And I had a little bit of time during my rush, and I just snuck over there because I just want to hang out with my family. And as we're there, me and Bill Zito are talking, and he goes, "Yeah, this is fun, right? Cheers, cheers, cheers." He goes, "I was sure you have to bring this fucking thing to your place." And I was like, "What?" And I was like my brother, he's like, yeah. He's like, "We're going to go." He's like, "We're going to surprise you, but let's go." And I was like, "Fuck." So I run back over there, and I'm like, "Holy shit." First, I wait for my brother, and I'm like, "All right, I think I have a couple minutes." And as I'm like thinking I have a couple minutes, I see him walking right across the street with this fucking Stanley Cup. And sure enough, as soon as people saw him, they were standing up, applauding. It was such a beautiful interaction between him and fans. People were going nuts.
Wow.
They didn't care. Let me say about the pasta. We were thinking about all kinds of things to do, but what we really wanted to do was the guy who watches the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Sitting there, we're laughing about what we're going to do, and the guest goes, "Reno, put pasta in it. Put pasta in it." And I was like, I know it's sterling silver. Can I put pasta in it? You know, I don't want to ruin it. They go, "You do whatever you want today."
Whoa.
Like, "Fuck it. We'll put bolognese in it." So we ate pasta and pizza off the Stanley Cup. Listen, everyone's drinking out of it. Everybody's doing shots out of it. Let's see pasta out of that bitch.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very appropriate one, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show with Mike Lubie Lubitz, of course. And so later on, and brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, will feature the great Tony Segreto. And Tony, in the cool confines of Vermont, while we're schwitzing our brains out down here. I like it, Lubie. I love a big schwitz. Although I believe, and maybe this is, coincidental with the fact that I'm getting up there in big numbers, big red numbers now. That are flashing on the board, as if there was going to be a steward's inquiry announced at any second. And you're thinking, I saw them bump. Like you just know that your number is about to go down. But it's a rough go. But the whole thing with the Stanley Cup, we'll be there later on today, right? Heritage Restaurant.
Yes, our first foray back to Heritage since he became the face across the internet.
Yeah.
Jerome.
Yeah. The schwitzing thing is good, but I was going to say it's sort of debilitating. I'm finding it more so than it used to be, Lubie. I don't know about you.
I love the heat because it's good for when you walk, and I get it from an exercise standpoint. The heat's good in that regard.
I mean, if I'm going to do this crap, I want to sweat out 5 pounds so I can drink, that second beer. I really do.
I can sort of get that. I don't agree. It's hot as fuck.
No, but I've noticed lately, I mean, I don't know if it's the amount of marijuana I'm ingesting or whatever, but or the old age, but I've noticed that it's more debilitating. It hits me later in the day. That fuck, I'm tired, man. What the hell is this?
It's just hot. Like the humidity. My problem is the humidity. Like
come home drenched. I mean, from this, I do.
Nighttime, and like when it should cool down, and other places it does, we don't get relief. Like you just feel. Like it's just. I
don't mind. I mean, in general, I like it. I'm looking at these temperatures. I think one of our shows anyway. We were talking about. Was it this one? We were talking about. The fact that does this run around in every degenerate gambler's head that at some point they want to, ride out the time there like they were, Ace Rothstein and just be in a room in Las Vegas somewhere, handicapping a little bit, get out to the strip, have a couple of cocktails. There's always people to see. And, there's something to do in a very confined area, a lot of different things to do in Vegas. But is it worth, being out there and subjecting yourself to 118 degree temperatures? 118, Lubie. You could call us dry heat all you fucking want. I mean, 118 is a setting on your air fryer. Okay.
Exactly.
Wings? Yeah, do them at 118. Do them slow. That is not a temperature that you should ever be subjecting yourself to by walking outside. And I remember, many times being in Vegas, and it wasn't quite that bad, but it was up there. I mean, like 107, 108. And you really, it was all you could do to go from one hotel to the next. Like if you were crossing the street, say from the Flamingo and going into Caesar's Palace, which is a very short walk, but in Vegas, you have to navigate your way around all of the different things that have been put in place so that the pedestrians don't block traffic. Right, so you're taking a bridge over here, and you got to cross over there. Do you take the elevator when you were in Vegas? Did you ever take the elevator up and down to get to the second level when you were crossing the street? That's a weak move, isn't it? I mean, unless you're having some kind of leg problems or whatever.
No, I run across roads all the time here, so it's nothing new to me.
There's actually you got the escalator and steps and an elevator at these different positions in Vegas. Anyway, I've ruled it out now. I'm not going out there and sitting in 118-degree heat. Are you, Lubie? This isn't even one day anymore, and I of course we're morphing into the political forum here, but. I mean, it's not going to change when people are in open denial and complete denial that there's something going on out there, right? That isn't right. Would you agree? I mean, we're seeing temperatures that we've never before witnessed across the country. People are just passing out. They haven't conditioned themselves to being, and at least we're sort of conditioned to it. A hurricane opens up the season there and slams 6 countries. And then comes ashore as like a category 1, which we just shrug our shoulders. 1. I think I'll go kite surfing. What? People don't really get that possessed about the idea that a category 1 is going to be a devastating hurricane. Wipes out this whole fucking town.
No.
But there's nothing going on out there, people, that we need to be concerned with. As we were saying the other day on the show, destroy the ozone layer. So this is exciting. I mean, think about it. We're going to Heritage later on today with the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show, which,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
always glad. As much as we ride Mayo for being a schnorrer of maximum proportions.
We drafted off of it pretty well.
Right. While we're making fun of him, which is great.
I mean, I have a friend who they live down here, my best friend, and his girl, they moved up to Georgia, and I'm using words like considering, but I think, again, it's like what you've talked about where like when the Stangs talked about moving to Melbourne or Orlando, where like you can sort of see it, but down deep, eventually it's going to get to you. Like Atlanta is a city. It's still nothing like the fucking, it actually is one of those cities that actually makes me appreciate our region. It's why we talk about South Florida as a region.
Yeah.
Because in Atlanta, you have some things and it is a city, but the minute you leave, you have nothing, and you have nothing for the entire fucking state. Like Savannah's cool. Helen's cool, but they're not cities. They're like little areas that you have pretty things.
Beach outposts with quaint old school stuff. Yeah.
They're not like where we have literal cities everywhere, that every city we have has anything you want from a food standpoint or even from an entertainment standpoint. I mean, you can go all across from east to west, north to south in South Florida and get pretty much anything you want.
Sure. It's great like that.
Realize that, but they're realizing it. That up there is not down here. So they're talking about coming back, and it's funny. I've already called May because his girl's a manager at a restaurant, and it's a year. They're not going to come back for like a year. They have a lease and all this, and I've already put it in Mayo's ear. If you hear anything.
No, I was surprised by that. I didn't think that would be one of his characteristics because. Well, it wasn't like the electronic media. That was one thing that I always enjoyed about the electronic media, as opposed to newspapers. Newspapers, supposedly, I mean, up until a certain point in time, they were operating under the premise that they had some kind of integrity that was above
reproach.
I mean, it wasn't like they were going to be out there like Judge Thomas, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're better than the Supreme Court.
They wouldn't even fly on team planes, even though it was offered to them, because it didn't want the presumption that they were taking favoritism from the team in terms of their expenses would lead to more favorable coverage, which, quite frankly, it does.
It does.
I mean, there's no way around it, man. I mean, you're sitting there. having, especially when it was even more kinder and friendlier, when you would sit and have lunch with Don Shula at training camp, for
I
God's
try
sake.
to slam him after he's like,
There were people that did, but this was not a particularly harsh. The South Florida media was not
no,
inclined to go on attack.
no,
The controversies that emerged from South Florida media mostly were, just much ado about nothing, which a lot of them are anyway. But it wasn't like some reporter just decided to attack a team or whatever. I mean, I've seen very little of that over the years. Whereas it was very popular, maybe when newspapers were more relevant. To have that one guy in town that was always under the like Alan Malamud, was known to be under the skin of Walter Alston for many years.
yeah.
And you could see the antagonism going back and forth. And I mean, he would throw something out there in a column, and then without even anybody addressing it, here's a manager of the Dodgers, mild mannered guy who really was very soft spoken, understated. The great late Walter Alston, and known for a series of 1-year contracts that spanned like 25 years. That was his big claim to fame. They never trusted him. I guess that was the way he wanted it.
Probably like
Let's see how we do this here. I mean, he was kind of a dignified guy. I was at the very tail end of his managerial leadership there with the Dodgers that I started, getting a little bit of involvement with covering the team. But he would mention stuff that this guy had said. You didn't have that, here in South Florida. Although, like over nothing, Shula would take exception with something, even though he claimed that he didn't read anybody's articles.
Yeah,
right?
obviously.
Yeah. And then like something that you saw like buried in the agatype underneath the article, Shula would reference and say, by the way, my winning percentage is 672 in those situations. You're like, what are you talking about, Don? That got to be absolutely crazy. But the print journalists weren't necessarily of the schnorring variety, Lubie.
No.
Kind of stayed away from that. So it's interesting. I mean, is that something that happens? A psychological trigger goes off and you realize, oh, now I can do this?
Well, yeah, supposedly that's literally Mayo went out of his way. They gave him an expense account. So that's where he got the taste for lavish and high level elevated.
Yeah, he's on the company dime. He's ordering the $200 bottle of Chateau Neuf de Pop.
But he wouldn't take this from anyone or that from anyone. But the minute he left the paper, he learned real quick.
I can trade off all of this stuff and just have to make a couple of small 30-second announcements. Yeah, sure, okay, no problem. Anyway, we'll be there. And what's great about going to Heritage today is if you think about it, the tradition of the Stanley Cup, right, as opposed to other trophies in sport and other symbols of championship stature. Do you ever see the Larry O'Brien getting tossed around? No. The Lombardi, you did have a thing with Tom Brady where he chucked it off a boat and people went bananas. They were like, what? What kind of disgrace is that? World Series trophies, I don't know that I've ever seen one. I guess what? When the Marlins won, did they have it on the beach somewhere? Was it at Lulu's Bait Shack and people were peeing on it? What?
No, that's the thing. That's why Maurice said it. He's like, you don't win this, you share this. Like, that's actually why the Stanley Cup is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
Like there, it's like what people are drinking and eating meals out of it.
As much as I liked going to Heritage anyway, because the food's great, and Reno turns out to be such a character. It's fantastic. Just to be in a guy's company for a while, and then you always respect people that are doing a great job at what they do, and they're. It sounds corny, but they're sort of following their passion, and he pursues it in a way that it makes it very entertaining, does it not?
Yes.
The times he's been on the show, you could tell, and he's very much like that with his way that he runs the restaurant.
Yes.
But really, really good stuff. And yet, I feel like there's an added, a kind of, what would you call it? An added, air.
I feel like there's an aura. There's like an aura around the place now, and Reno himself now, and there's just like a glow, an afterglow.
There's something about the fact that the cup was there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, had in its history, its signature moment right there in that spot.
Yep.
I think at the same table we usually set up at.
It's where we do the show. Yeah, it's where we'll do the show today at 1.
See, and it's kind of got me,
Yeah, I think it's
I'm
cool.
feeling the vibe on this thing. It's great.
It's really cool. Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be fun. That's later on today. Where do you want to begin here, Libby? Because there are so many things, I went through this a little bit earlier on our NoFilter.net show,
Well, our friend
the
Brian
morning briefing.
already, who was a Boston guy, so he's doing it to pour gasoline on the fire. Already sort of alluded to it in the chat. The thing is, both of the head people of that organization that I'll let you bring up should have been gone probably like 2-3 years ago. So it's not shocking. Like,
For those of you on audio only, I'm holding up the back cover of the New York Post here, and it's got Brian Cashman. The Yankees, and this is great because we often talk about betting philosophies and strategies, and you have to have some instinct
yes.
for these sort of turnarounds that happen in sport.
Yep.
I don't know that you could have never anticipated. I don't think anybody did anticipate the Yankees' fast start, where they were like,
Not good.
what were they, 50-22 or something like
They were
that?
what, best or second best team in baseball, right? Like weren't
Best
they-
record in baseball at the time, not long ago, about 25 games ago, let's say. Since that time, though, they're the worst team in baseball, worse than the Marlins. Think about the magnitude of that. Worse than the White Sox.
Oh no.
With a 6-17 record, including last night's 5-3 loss to the Tampa Bay Rays, who the Yankees, of course, were favored. Now, how do the bookies survive this, Louis? I don't know that you could lay off all of this action, could you? Obviously, you couldn't, and you couldn't make up for it with the juice. The math doesn't make sense to me. Where the Yankees, and they now show this thing on FanDuel TV, which it took me a while to figure out what it was that they were saying with this, because my vision is going, and the graphic is very, very small. But they're showing you now, as they're touting games that you can bet on during the horse racing coverage, that they're showing you the percentage of money that's bet on one team or the other on the money line.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so this is money line too. So the Yankees were getting 86% of the action last night.
Oh God.
But they were only laying 120, which I guess was not a factor if you're talking about the money line. So how do they survive this? I mean, and if you're any kind of an astute bettor, you're thinking, wait a minute, is it not worth taking a shot with the Rays? Even though you're only getting back even money, you don't have to lay a price. They're at home, and you have a team that's in not even a tailspin. This is a fucking nosedive, Lubie.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize they were worse. We've talked about them a lot. I didn't realize they were worse than the Marlins.
Over the last 23 games.
No, but that's a lot. That's a decent sample size. Like that's an eighth of the season.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a chunk. Like that's a nice amount of games to where. Okay.
So, and the question would always be, how the hell does Brian Cashman keep his job? Is he still resting on the laurels of things that were done in the distant past? The Yankees' last World Series championship, 2009.
And that's a long time ago.
That's 15 years ago, Louis. Is this a team that is built in a franchise that? I mean, look, Steinbrenner started that whole thing almost more than a half a century ago, where. If you don't win the championship, the season sucks.
It was the 90s. Because remember, weren't they like they were down for the 80s and early 90s? It was the 90s where they put that group of young guys together with key signings, DePaul O'Neill, the Scott Brocious, John Wetland, and they put all those guys together with Rivera. And
they would get a guy, and this was true of a lot of dynastic type of franchises in sports, where they would get a guy that was doing squadooch.
Yes,
where they were before, and all of a sudden the guy would be great.
Well, they would be heroes. Paul O'Neill's career was pretty much over. Scott Brocious never really had a career, and both were huge in the postseasons for them. Like, but again, a lot of people always like to point to that was more Bob Watson than that was.
Cashman came along, and what, 1999?
I think he won either the second or third World Series, but again, it wasn't his players at all. And then it took him like a fucking decade. Remember, then they lost the one to the Diamondbacks where you had Rivera with a chance to win another World Series.
Right.
Botched it. Really.
Listen to you, a Yankee historian. Good
I
stuff.
remember I hated the Yankees with a passion.
Yeah.
So and they were really good, and it was really fucking annoying. So I remember their team, and I had friends that were Yankee fans, so I remember those teams almost as well as I remember my own teams. So
all right,
they were really fucking good. But then they had a drought, right, where they were good, but they didn't win. And he just
No, sub 500 in since 2009, sub 500 in the postseason.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird that
With
he hosts. Like,
and the kind of investment that they made, of course. I mean, they pretty much were snaring the top guy that was available almost every season, it seemed, and it hasn't helped them. They haven't won a championship. But right now, I mean, in terms of betting philosophy, when they're ice cold like this, don't you want to take a shot against them until you're convinced that the entire thing is turned around? I would imagine in those 23 games, Lubie, they've probably been favored in almost all of them. You would be making a fortune if you just were willing. Instinct is so important. Instinct. We look for that in the front office, right? Bill Zito, he has instincts. I'm not sure, how evident it is with others. We always thought that. I don't know that Pat Riley had instincts, and but yet he just for some reason hasn't had the wherewithal to get back to where he was when they should have won what? 4 straight championships with LeBron James. So would he have left if they had won 4 straight? That's the other question.
O'Reilly? Probably.
No, I'm talking about LeBron.
I don't.
Let's say they won them all. I guess they were on a roll, right? Because what? They lost the first one. Did they win the second one and then lose the third?
No.
They won 2 in a row, and then
repeat, and they got up on the Spurs, and then
they lost. Yeah.
The air conditioning game happened where they were winning in the fucking game.
Oh yes,
he went out and it fucked them. They would have gone up 2-0 in the series, and then from that point on, Danny Green averaged like 50 points a game, and Dwayne Wade looked like he was 94. From that,
that was a weird series. It really was. Yeah,
they went from controlling the series, the first 2 games, to it looked like it was the goddamn 1980 Sacramento Kings against the Los Angeles Lakers of the 1980s. That series was
they morphed into the Washington Generals. Yeah, it was ugly.
And they looked old, but it looked to me was LeBron was always going back to Cleveland because the story arc would be great if he could get them a title, which is what he did.
Which somehow miraculously he did, even being down what? They were down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors. All right, wow. Kyrie Irving hits that shot.
Yep.
Who was the guy again he was always a nemesis in the league for whatever team he happened to be on. That LeBron was chasing. There were like 2 seconds to go in the game, and he had to shoot the ball, and he ran out the clock instead.
J.R. Smith.
Oh yeah. That guy. Wasn't he on the Heat for a little while?
J.R. Smith, I don't know if he was ever on the Heat. Yeah, J.R. Smith, where he just needed to put the ball back and ran out to the 3-point line, back to a 3 when they were down 1.
It was insane. Yeah.
Man, he's not the brightest.
Unbelievable. His math wasn't too good at that point. Very Chris Webber-esque. What do you mean we got no timeouts? You feel like a schmuck when you make a play like that, Lubie. I mean, and what? Should it stay with you the rest of your life? I guess so.
If it's Little League,
should it be the defining thing, the Buckner-esque, situation where you never get past it, even though you were a great player the rest of the time?
Should it be no? Does it? Probably.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Yankees imperiled, and go ahead. Cash man would apply to you, the better out there. Take advantage of these things while they're happening. We got Mr. Yankee himself, Tony Segreto. I mean, a guy probably has been discussing their downfall with the great Bucky Dent, his good friend. And we're going to bring on Tony Segreto for a little old school here, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Let me get a look at Tony here before we get started. Oh, there he is. Always an inspiration, man. Always an inspiration. How are you, Tony Segreto?
I'm just fine and dandy. How are you, Louie and Defo? How are you feeling, Defo?
I'm good. No, I've been very good. Everything's back on course here.
Back on the walk of life?
What's that? The walk of life resumed probably a month ago already, and been doing a little rehab on the Achilles just because I don't want to go out and snap it on my own without being ready for it.
My fucking cat is annoying. My cat's being...
What's his or her name?
It's fucking Cecilia, and she doesn't care about anyone ever except for the weirdest times, and now she...
Louie's going to have to go to the fridge for those leftovers there.
Yeah.
Ditch the cat, Louie. I mean, did you ever think you would say that? You used to have, did you do those segments there with like Ron McGill or, somebody comes in with, an adoption thing, which is always good for the TV. I like it when the TV newscasters get in on that. Did you do a bunch of that stuff? I mean, with wild animals?
I did some of it. Yeah. Yep. And,
all right. Anything memorable happen?
I can't think of anything at the moment. that was memorable.
Okay. Yeah. No animal took a dump like right there on your script.
That happened. Happened. Yes.
All right.
That happened.
All right, we're going to come back with Tony Segreto. Maybe he can explain it to me, Lucy, man. Tell us what's wrong with his beloved New York Yankees. Yeah. We'll come back with more here on a Defo Show with Mike Lubie Lubitz. Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse going to join us as well in a moment. And back with that. Now that. It's a lot of that. It's 8:32.
Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
Welcome back to the show. A lot of betting is being able to dance on the grave of somebody when they're down or about to go into it. And we did a little of that tap dancing last night, Tony, by taking the Tampa Bay Rays even money against the New York Yankees. Almost everybody was on the Yankees side of things. The Yankees are now 6-17 in their last 23.
Oh, yeah.
The ERA of the rotation has more than doubled in the last 23 games in terms of where it was in the first, I guess it was 70-something games. Mm-hmm. And they're in a complete tailspin. Now, have you been talking to your man, Bucky Dent? And I guess the question that's always asked is, how does he keep his job? It's Brian Cashman. It's been a while. I mean, I don't know. What do you make of all of this? Are you still a diehard Yankee fan at heart? Okay. All right. Oh, that's right. You have the Yankee hat on sometimes on the show.
I'll get it.
No, you don't have to. I mean, because right now you would have to be wearing it upside down like you were Judge Alito or something.
Face.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to.
You have a bag with NY on it, the signature.
Like the Lion fans.
Any theories out there? I mean, what do you make of this whole thing, Tony Segreto? Because it looks ugly. I mean, it just does. I would have expected more of this than I did the sensational beginning.
Your worst nightmare in baseball is for the entire team to go cold, and this entire team has gone cold. I mean, from the pitchers to the hitters to the fielders. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I don't know what they can do to get out of it, but it'll happen. You know, it's a cyclical thing. And I'm not losing heart. I'm not getting panicked. I'm not, oh my God, they lost all this ground. I'm holding steady because I believe that this is a once a year deal. They don't by that I mean, Judge, Soto, they all stop hitting, they all stop fielding, they all stop doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter this time of the year because we haven't even hit the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And after the All-Star break, as we get into September, then it'll start to matter.
See,
all right, we'll see. Go ahead, Libby.
So here's my thing. Like, we know in reality of all the coaches / managers, baseball managers probably matter the least. A lot of people have said there's really only so much. You set the lineup and then they go. Like you're not calling timeouts in the middle of the game outside of the pitchers. There's only so much you're really doing. A lot of people have said when it comes to the guys I know that played baseball, they said the manager matters. There's great managers and they get you some wins, but they only matter so much, right? So I feel bad blaming Boone for everything. But like if the guy is clearly sort of been for 3 or 4 years, like I'm just confused as an organization that used to fire guys too quickly. Now they're hanging on to guys too. Like Cashman has been a question mark for like 5 years. Like I'm so confused at why they're so safe. Like it's just weird to me that they're this safe.
Boone is he's run his course, and his words fall. His words fall deaf.
Deaf ears. Yeah.
Well, one of the things you hear about him, Tony, is that well, and this comes from reading these New York Post articles all the time, is that he doesn't really hold players accountable.
No,
he doesn't.
He just whatever. A guy doesn't hustle. There was a play in center field the other day where the guy just kind of really dogged it after the ball, and it ended up turning a single into a double. And and Boone would these things happen. He never says anything even vaguely or in general along the lines of well, if you don't hustle, you don't win games.
Wow.
He has had it. He's run his course. It's time to find a replacement for him. But at the end of the day, Judge, Stanton, all those guys, you got to believe they're going to come through. You got to believe they're going to come through.
I don't think Lubie shares your faith, nor do I in Stanton.
No. I think he's a good player. I just think he's going to miss.
It's unfortunate, that's what happened with him. I like Stanton as a player, actually.
I like Stanton as a player too. I like
hurt.
I mean, he had one of the great years that you could ever have in South Florida baseball history, and I don't know, no hitter probably will even come close to that we have on the Marlins. At least not in our lifetime, Tony, because we don't have enough years to see this team turning around. That's for sure.
Speak for yourself.
I don't think, and this might be the worst run franchise. And now, you're asking yourself, I mean, is there some kind of a silver lining in all of that? But there doesn't seem to be. I don't know. They don't have any kind of stated position. Like you never see this Bendix guy talking about where the team is at, or all of the. They trade away a guy that can hit early in the season, well, way before they had to. If they were going to be serious about giving the fans something, and who are these people they got back for him? I don't know. And every deal seems to be like that.
They trade away there's some players that have a spark, some players that have they hit.
Louis Arise, I mean, I would think would be a very valuable asset. A guy who can get on base.
The Yelich and the Arise moves were the two that make literally every other one you did explain away. Those made zero sense.
They're a farm system for other teams.
Yes, it's what they. I mean, that's really what they are. I mean,
they're a AAA team
of success, and it's by accident. It feels like when they have success, it's by accident.
They're a AAA team and maybe a AA team in a lot of instances.
I was talking earlier about how the Miami South Florida press in general has been pretty kind. I mean, it's
so
not
kind.
It's not no. I mean, to everybody. I mean, it wasn't like an attack media down here. I mean, you had a couple of guys that would fire off some questions every now and then that would rile somebody up. But it wasn't even done in any kind of like thing like where people are attacking a player. But I mean, if you were covering the team today. I mean, could you possibly go down there and, I mean, do what most, if you're watching the TV sports report, they're trying to paint a picture that like something positive is going on, which I don't know. I mean, could you go out there, Tony, every day and, not be saying, hey, what the fuck is happening here?
No way. If you gave me the assignment of covering the Marlins, I'd take a gun and shoot myself.
Can't be that bad. You just stated you wanted to live forever here, Tony, not to limit the number of years you have left on the chart.
My God, I pull my hair out. What's
it's still Major League Baseball, I guess. I don't know. You could look at it that way. I mean, if you were
when
This was your assignment. You're going out to the ballpark. You're having a couple of hot dogs in the media room there, rolling over and looking over some stats. Hey, did you know this? I mean, they're 172 with runners in scoring position over the last 3 years. But and then you're taking in a ball game. I guess it could be kind of dreadful. Covering a losing team is a weird thing.
Kind of dreadful.
Yeah.
Kind of. It'd be dreadful, dreadful, dreadful. With capital D.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be any hope either. That's the problem. Yeah.
Look, like Defo said in the past, like with the Dolphins for years where they were just boring. Like you can have bad teams, but they like that Heat team that year, that second half that was actually one of the worst second halves ever because it fooled Riley to screw them for 3 years. Like that first half of the year when no one was watching, Defo would watch the Heat and we would talk about them every day.
Yeah, every day.
I
remember that.
I actually was telling Lubie that they weren't as bad as the record indicated.
It's like they're fun.
Yeah.
And they move the ball well. I'm like, what are you watching?
I saw something there. I really did.
So like
and it turned out to be right. So that was good.
Teams can be bad and fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes teams are just bad, and the Marlins are just
they're just bad. I mean, every guy they bring up looks like a baseball bag lady. It's amazing. Like, who the fuck is this guy? It's incredible. Their catcher's been hitting 170 for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's two different guys, right?
And he's making $10 million a year.
Could be. I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother subject there. The staggering amounts of money that are being floated around. But it's kind of weak. I guess it would be dreadful to have to go out there and trying to find. Now, there are good stories and everything. You of all people would be more inclined to find these feel good stories.
Yeah, but how many feel good stories are there? Are there enough feel good stories? So there are 162 feel good stories.
Oh God,
to do.
Yeah, at what point are you interviewing the clubhouse manager for the second time?
No, the clubhouse manager's assistant.
Yeah. There's Whitey. He's been here for 94 years, right? He looks like some guy that was carrying a spit bucket for Danny Little Red Lopez. Yeah.
That's the story. The guy who cleans up, who's there at the end of the day, the last one to leave the building.
Yeah.
And he's sweeping the floor. You got to do a story on him.
Unbelievable, man. Can you believe this guy cheated in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest? Did you see this story?
No, what happened?
Well, they go and the final judgment is done. They you always have the guy standing behind the guy who's shoveling the hot dogs in his face. And, they got the plate of hot dogs and each plate has 5 hot dogs on it. That's how they do the final tally. Yeah. And I guess they have this video taped. So they were making some amendments because the little girl that's flipping the cards, she doesn't see what's going on. She's standing behind the guy. How does she know that the guy didn't just shovel 7 hot dogs in his face at the same time? So the count's kind of inaccurate, and this is how they verify everything. And they find out that this guy, Nick Wary, who is married to the female champion and was one of the contenders with Chestnut out of the thing, actually was siphoning off plates from one of the guys next to him and putting it in his stack to add 5 extra hot dogs, not to change and enhance his position in the contest, but to get over the 50 mark so he could be one of the guys. It's like kind of like having a course record at your local golf club, one of the guys that had eclipsed 50.
He used a foot wedge.
Nothing is sacred anymore, Tony. Nothing.
Oh, God.
My God. Even the hot dog eating contest was not on the level this year. And then on top of that, they take their 1 star out of there, Joey Chestnut, and they have him relegated to eating tofu somewhere outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania, against a field of stiffs that never competed. I mean, it's crazy, right?
I like to see him eat a tofu hot dog.
That's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing. He's eating like tofu dogs or something.
He ate like 70 of them. I couldn't eat 2.
If anybody could turn tofu into gold,
yes, I'm surprised.
It would be this man who joins us now, Ed Garcia. Wow.
Ed, you want to weigh in on this conversation or what?
I mean, we were just saying there's nothing sacred, when you have cheating confirmed in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
That's absolutely insane. And who wants to eat that many hot dogs anyway?
50 hot dogs, this guy, and he was stealing the plate. I mean, it was the old thing, like a guy steals your racing form when you leave the bar at the track, and we call it poaching. And so he poached this other guy's plate and put it in his stack, and that counted for an extra 5 hot dogs for him in the final tally. But Fortunately, it didn't change the outcome of the event in any way. But this guy is going to live in disgrace.
How'd the grand opening go? How'd the grand opening go?
It's going really, really, really well. I'm actually just right outside the site now, getting ready to rock another day. We opened up last Monday. The mayor, everybody in town was here. Actually, they came back during the week, so it's been very, very blessed. I love being part of this new community here. Lake Park, Jupiter, West Palm Beach area. So come on in, check us out. Love to have you.
Sounds good. All right. So, and just open up, and you're already outside there. Unbelievable, Ed Garcia. And I thought of you the other night because I was watching, and I couldn't believe that they were having a ton of college football interviews with various coaches. And I thought, wow, this thing is right around the corner. The college football season is what, like 6 weeks away, 7, something like that?
I was going to say 6 weeks. We're going to be ready to rock and roll.
Wow.
I want to say Michigan opens up with a soft one with Bowling Green, but I will be there the following week for Texas. That's going to be a big game. So, and I'm going with Texas alum, unfortunately. So, but it should be a great time.
Well, you can't have everything,
I feel though Michigan's going to come out very strong. I think the defense is going to lock a lot of people up, and I'm expecting some big surprises, just kind of like what we saw out of JJ McCarthy. I think we're going to see out of Orgy, and it's going to be very calculated passing and some big wins.
It's got to be. They got to give the coach, some time to settle in. If they don't give him any time, then that's then they're looking around again. But if they give him time to settle in and become the coach, he can do well.
I agree. I mean, he already was coaching during the Big Ten game or Ohio State game, and so I feel really good that he's got those nerves a little bit on lock. I mean, he's got the official title now, but I think this college football season is going to be absolutely fantastic. There's going to be a lot of upsets. The first few weeks, we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about upsets, and hopefully none of them are Michigan.
Well, they're going to be a 12. There's going to be a 12-team playoff, so that's going to make things exciting too.
Very exciting. Yes, absolutely.
That starts this year. So how does that work? You got 8 teams playing the first round or something, and 4 teams get a bye? Is that
the top 4 get a bye, and then the next 8 play in the first round?
And they play at their own stadium, I think.
Yes, they get home games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Seeds get home games. I'm trying to think. I know that the conference champions get automatically in, but I don't know if it's the 5 or I'm trying to figure out who gets it. It's a little confusing, to be really honest, the setup for the first year. So we'll see how it works. It feels like you're supposed to give every conference a chance, but it feels like you're going to get like 8 SEC and Big Ten teams, and then the other 4 spots will go to whatever because the Big 12 and the ACC exists. The Pac-12 doesn't. The Pac-12 does. It's Oregon State and Washington State hung around, but I don't think it's a conference anymore. So I don't know how the automatic bids are going to even work. Like, it's sort of weird, but there'll be 12 teams. So at least it should be a lot more interesting. Like, the question marks won't be as resounding as they were last year.
Yeah, I was watching this last night. Have you guys seen the 30 for 30? I'm sure you have. Catholics versus convicts. When you were talking about giving a coach time, and it was so. I mean, poor Jerry Faust when Jimmy just crushed him like a grape like that. And that was an odd choice, right? I guess they owed it to him for sending all of those 300-pound linemen from Cincinnati Moeller over to Notre Dame. But clearly overmatched job and magnitude of job to experience, and it was interesting because it was a different world back then. You had so much acrimony among programs. I don't know that the University of Miami merits that kind of stuff. You still have those kind of rivalries with Michigan and Ohio State and Michigan and some of the other teams that are on the schedule, including Notre Dame.
That is correct. Yeah, Notre Dame. I mean, that was one of my favorite games growing up. Was typically the third game of the season and was our first big challenge. Because you typically open up, almost a Division II game, but really not. But there's going to be some really good rivalries out there. Notre Dame was one of the best.
Yeah. Notre Dame,
go ahead, Tony.
They refused to join the conference, and they're going to have to win them all because it's the only way they're going to get in. And Marcus Freeman knows that. So here we go, because they got a tough schedule.
So Ed, let me ask you, like, it's funny because it feels like Texas Roadhouse is sort of insulated from whatever's going on in the food industry. And what time of year it is, because you guys do such a great job. You're just wash, rinse, repeat, and people follow that. But it is the summer, and down here, it's very interesting the difference between some restaurants, because we go to all these different restaurants with Mike Mayo's show. Some are doing really well, even though it's summer, and then some are like, oh, this is the worst summer ever. What is the summer like for Texas Roadhouse? I mean, not only in Florida, I know you travel nationally. Like, what is it like for you guys? Do you notice a difference in people coming and going as opposed to the rest of the year?
Summer is typically a little bit slower, but it's also spread out a little bit because the sun sets a lot later. People come in and eat a lot later. So instead of your 7:30 dinner, you see a little 8:30, 9:30, and during the week, because people take different time off. It definitely is softer because the Canadians do fill up Florida quite a bit, and they're not here for the summer. So there's obviously, I mean, you see the difference in the Walmart, Publix, and even on the roads. They're a lot less congested. But we're blessed. I think that, we're America's favorite, and you can get, what you're going to get at Texas Roadhouse. You're going to get a ton of food at a great value, and at the same time have a lot of fun, because I think that's what one of the things that sets us apart is the culture, the energy, the line dancing, the potential of seeing Lubie line dance. I mean, those are some good things.
Lubie has moves.
You also cater to the local community.
Yes.
Miramar, for example. Miramar attracts all the Miramar folks.
Yep.
The Coconut Creek. I know people from all over go to the Coconut Creek location.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's an insulation that you have built in.
Yep.
Well, it's cool too. People traveling in the summertime, and as you cross states or whatever,
you'll find
traverse the country. It's always great to find a place that you can rely on, and you know what you're going to get, and especially if it's great food at an extremely reasonable price. So you can go there, and you're not taking a shot on some place that it could be anything. Right?
My drive up here, I try to stop, for the night somewhere near Texas Roadhouse, so I can go and get something to eat, and I can be sure that I'll be a cold beer and a good dinner. That's just the way it is. And no matter where I go, it could be Kentucky, could be Massachusetts, could be wherever, and it's the same as down south or as
that's correct.
It's a winner all the way around.
It's amazing. It's amazing how you kept the culture and kept the food the same way.
Where exactly is this new location that you're sitting outside of, Ed Garcia?
So we're on Lake Park, right off 95, between Blue Heron and North Lake on Congress Avenue.
Okay.
We got a nice patch of 3 acres over there. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous building with all the new LED. Come check us out. Really, really cool bar. Big screen TVs, and just a great time.
Sounds good, my friend. We'll get up there sometime soon. Always a pleasure, Ed. Thanks so much for being with us.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Bye,
Ed Garcia, man. How about this guy, man? He's out there hustling.
He's something. He is something, boy. He is amazing.
This guy's got energy. He should be running for president. No?
He should be.
Somebody who's alive, who's vibrant, who's got a vision, who pursues things and sees, that it's good to reciprocate your own success by doing a lot of good inside the communities. Just fantastic. Yeah. That's the kind of guy we need. How come we can't find that, Tony? What do you think? Wow. There was big speculation yesterday. I must have seen 100 texts in this thread that was going on between Lubie, the professor, and Mike Mayo. And it was involving the fact that Tua Tagovailoa supposedly had a seat reserved in the front row for the Trump rally. And you thought at that point, I am rooting for the Dolphins to stiff him entirely on the contract. Is this guy really going to be out there in a MAGA hat? Are you kidding me?
No, he
didn't show up. It turned out maybe they just put that there, to make you think he was coming. Is that
feels like a
possible?
Trump move, actually.
Yeah.
You see, we're gonna have Tua.
Tua loves me. Everybody loves me.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
I don't even want to comment. I don't even want to comment because we got two elderly men running for president.
Well, it's unfortunate that Biden has lost it completely. Because I did think
he was on fire last night when he talked to NATO. He was on fire. He was.
I don't know that he can be on fire anymore. I mean, unless you set fire to him, but which many Democrats are thinking might be the move. Very short-sighted on the part of the Democratic Party not to figure out that, hey, this guy isn't going 12 rounds. I mean, there's no way.
Sometimes he looks like an animatronic out of Disney. I have to say.
Yeah, it makes me feel good about the slow pace I utilize and exercise on my walk of life. Because I am sprinting. I am Skeets Nehemiah compared to this guy. Yeah,
it's a dead sprint.
Oh my God. Tony, what do you got cooked up? You're past July 4th weekend here, and you're in Vermont. I would imagine it's a lot more pleasant in terms of temperature than it is here.
It's a lot better than South Florida. We're experiencing a heat wave here.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to be 85.
Oh wow,
85 up there is kind of pleasant. Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. Yeah, it's hot as hell. Hey, we got to put in a word for, and I just caught this in the newspaper this morning. Bernie Kosar. Bernie Kosar apparently has had all kinds of bizarre health issues, including liver sclerosis and cirrhosis. I guess what is it? Cirrhosis on the liver, sclerosis on the liver.
It's
one of those things that doesn't look pleasant. Yeah,
I think cirrhosis. Yes.
Okay, and maybe a need. I guess he's on the list of people that are looking for a liver transplant. And then he had other complications on top of that, possible like CTE issues or Parkinson's. But apparently is in a period right now where he's okay. So one of my favorite guys I ever had a chance to cover his games, Bernie Kosar.
He's an all-time favorite. He's a great guy. It's all I have to say. And we pray for him, and that's all we can do because it's a shame. It's a shame that he has to go through this.
He certainly. I mean, he encountered more than his share of problems. Bernie Kosar for being really just a great guy. And eventually he made some statement that seemed innocuous enough while he was doing. He made a bet and they took him down from his broadcasting job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always run into a guy that really you would have to deserve this kind of a fate because he was always such a genuinely gracious human being. He seemed to have his heart and mind in the right place.
He was as gracious. He knew where he came from. He was good to those people.
What a great story, too. Was that one of the best sports stories ever? The 83 Hurricane football team under Howard? Unbelievable, Tony. Speaking of old school.
It'll probably go down as one of the greatest seasons of all time for any team. They lose their opener to Florida, and then they go on the string them all together and win it. And
Dr. Tom goes for 2. That unreal. Let's decide it right here.
Yeah,
and of course, still resoundingly ringing in my ears, Sonny Hirsch with the deflected away.
Yeah.
How much money do you think Sonny had on the money line on that game?
Oh,
I mean, what were you getting? 17 and a hook. So the money line had to be like 10-1.
I was next to him in the broadcast booth.
You were? Oh my God!
Yeah, we were doing the game together, and first of all, you have to understand that if it was a play against Miami, he'd bang it.
Didn't he knock a hole in the press box wall there?
He knocked a hole in the press box. It was nuts. And if the Texas Roadhouse was sponsoring the show then, he'd be there every night.
No doubt, yeah. Especially if he could get in for free
every night. But he got so excited when they flipped that ball away, and the call was superb.
Yeah, he was very accurate caller, Sonny Hirsch.
And you know what? You looked at a flip card, and that was it.
Yeah, his preparation, his idea of show prep was very similar to mine.
None.
Which is, I've seen it already. So I mean, let's go. Well, let's play the game. Tony, we love you, man. Have a great time up there in Vermont. We'll talk to you again next week. It's always a pleasure. All right, thanks to Ed Garcia for joining us. And
next week, we're going to give a tour of the outside of the house.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful! Wow. Okay.
Hey, I don't know when we're getting up there, so I'd love to see it. Actually.
Yeah, one of these days. Well, we'll surprise you. Lubie and I'll drop in. We'll do the show.
Do that.
You can spot unwanted visitors from a mile away. That's the beauty of living up there in this rural, in these rural confines that you're in. That's great.
Hey, you know what I got on my phone now?
What's that?
I got an app that identifies birds.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, Jesus. All righty.
Tony, yeah.
Enjoy birding.
Tony Segreto for the Audubon Society. All right, thanks. Everybody, we'll see you. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen, with us here. All right, we got to get out of here, huh?
Bird watching now. Oh, Jesus.
It's bird watching in Vermont. I haven't gotten there yet, Lubie.
I was just going to say, at least you're not there.
I mean, I've been thinking about the Vegas thing, leaving Las Vegas, very Nick Cage-esque, that whole macabre picture. Being alone in some cheesy motel somewhere with a bottle of vodka, and a racing form. That's all I need. Is that the way you go out the door?
Okay.
Kind of like Leonard Toews in his final days. Remember Leonard Toews, the former owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, the famous story there, where he lost all of his money gambling in Atlantic City. Then he tried to sue them, saying that they had, inebriated him to the point where he no longer had control of his mental faculties, and that's how he lost all his money. He wanted his money back. What would you think the disposition was of the court in New Jersey on that? So he's in some cheesy Atlantic City apartment, living out the final days after owning the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, think about that. And he's on 60 Minutes. And I think it was Morley Safer was doing the interview, and he says, if I offered you $1 million today, would you do it again? In other words, go back to gambling and playing blackjack at this level where you ended up going broke? And he looks into the camera with a little pause, this guy, at 90 years old. It always endeared me to him. And he says, could you make it 2? I mean, at least let me have a little fun while I'm killing myself. That's the way to go. All right, Lubie. Always a pleasure, my friend. All right, thanks to Tony, Ed Garcia, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Always a great spot. That is true, too, like when you're traveling. What was it? I mean, back in the day, it was like a Howard Johnson's. You couldn't wait to go to a Howard Johnson's.
Well, they have a place in Orlando, and I don't know how far it goes, but my family would always be like Bob Evans. There was a place called
Bob Evans. Yeah, that was big out there.
That's in Florida.
Across the country.
Maybe in other places, too, actually, but it was like the rural place. It wasn't horrendous. It was felt like a better Denny's.
They put out a bunch of frozen mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. Not bad, I would have to say. Mustang favors that sort of thing.
That was always our movie, Bob Evans, growing up. Yeah.
No, do you take the time to heat up? I'm going to have one spoonful of the mashed potatoes and feel the Jewish guilt all the way down to the very core of my soul. Do you heat that spoonful up, or do you just eat it cold out of the thing? Because it's not really that great, even though you've defrosted it, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not a cold hot food guy. So I would probably heat it up and just.
Far more satisfying, even if you microwave it and just blitzkrieg it, blowtorch it for a minute. Yeah. But I will go right cold right out of the thing, because you're trying to sneak a bite and you're telling yourself, don't do it, don't go to the fridge. That's what I need to put. Wow, we could sell this on Shark Tank too, Lubie. We get a thing that a voice that is your conscience as you approach the refrigerator. No ice cream today, DeForest. And it discourages you from doing the things that are helping ruin your health. Could we come up with something like that?
I'm sure it has already been there because people love being yelled at. I feel like it just doesn't work.
All right. We got to run. Thanks so much for being with us, everybody. We'll see you at 1:00, Heritage Restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, home of the Stanley Cup. I hope he puts that up there on a sign somewhere, home of the Stanley Cup. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we'll see you then as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.